Welcome to Real Estate Explained, the podcast that gives you a backstage pass to the ever-evolving world of real estate. I'm your host, Nick Bush, a realtor with over a decade of experience helping clients buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about the market, this show is for you. Each week, we'll dive into trending topics, break down the latest real estate news, and bring you expert interviews with the pros so you're prepared for every step of the journey. Ready to turn your real estate goals into reality? Keep watching.
The kind of guy that was like 100%, just like most young kids. I was like, I'm going to the league. Like that's what I thought. And then I even told myself, if I don't go to the league, I want to play overseas.
Yeah.
And my brother was already in the gym, so was Eric, and I was kind of in there. And I was a boxing fan.
Yeah.
Not like a complete boxing fanatic like I am now, but I was in the gym a lot with them. And I could just tell that I could naturally do it. I was athletic, I was quick, had very good reactions, and I wasn't scared to get hit. And I had a really good work ethic, and it really just kind of stemmed from the idea of like, all right, playing basketball, it's somewhat dependent on me, but you got coaches, you got teammates, and a lot of times the success of your team will essentially in a sense, it will kind of help determine how far you can go. If your team's not that good, I don't care if you're dropping 30 every night, it's going to be hard to get recognized. So with boxing, I was like, you know what, it's all eggs on me, and it's all determined on me. And that's what it was. So I think you asked me, like, was I trying to go pro? 100%. Like, that was my vision, too. It was just like a snap decision, bro. And it was very sudden. It was like real sudden. People thought I was crazy, bro. Because junior year, made like the all-district team, broke my school record for like most points in a game and things like that. Yeah,
he's a hooper in here, bro.
I'm a hooper.
Let's introduce you before. The people need to know who you are, bro. So I'm here with Diego Abregu.
Yeah.
Tell the people who you are. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, man. So Diego Abregu, I'm a real estate agent here in Northern Virginia, licensed 8 years with Keller Williams. And that's it, man. We help people buy and sell, and we do a lot of it.
Yeah. So you're a hooper. So you're breaking records out in Loudoun County.
Yeah. So I've pretty much been an athlete my whole life.
Yeah, that's tight.
Nothing but hooping. I didn't play football, nothing else. It was like eat, sleep, everything, basketball. And then when I was 17, just pretty much fast forward all the way till I was 17. My senior year, I just had like a sudden moment. I remember texting my brother like, hey, if I don't get a D1 scholarship, I think I want to box.
Yeah.
And the plan was to finish my senior season, see how everything goes, and then make my decision. But it was like that same night that I texted him, I had a game versus like our school rival, and it was like our biggest game ever. When I tell you I never sat out in a game, like from start to finish, I was playing every minute.
The whole game, yeah.
He took me out like second or third quarter, like, what are you doing? Like, your head is not in the game. My head wasn't in the game. And that same night, I left the team. I just decided, like, you know what? I want to box. Like, I just knew in my mind, I was like, I want to box. I really want to pursue this.
Yeah. And
I don't want to waste 4 or 5 more months, right? In retrospect, I look back like, yeah, probably I should have finished the season. Yeah. At the time, that 5 months felt like a lot to me. I was like, I can train and start getting better now, and start sparring now, and start fighting now, and that's what I did, man. I won like my first 9 fights, was 9-0, and then just won a couple Golden Glove tournaments, and just kind of kept it moving, man.
Videos of that?
Say it again.
You got videos of that?
I do got videos. Not as much as I should have.
Yeah. We
had like this huge database of like hundreds and hundreds of sparring videos with like world champions, Olympians, and all of it is gone.
So, but people should know, like, if you see Diego in the street in traffic, and you honk your horn at him, like, it might be a problem for you if he's not having a good day. You know what I mean?
We definitely stay sharp, man. You got to stay sharp.
Look, he's like, yep, it will be a problem. So, all right, so you were
no problems though, man.
So you started boxing. You were out of here at 23, 24, you said.
Yeah.
And then did you shift into real estate right away? Because, you've been in the game 8 years, right? So
kind of. It wasn't as sudden as it was with, like, from basketball to boxing. Like, that boxing thought was very quick, but it was like a decision I made right away, like, this is what I want to do. With real estate, it was a little bit different. My uncle actually sat me down when I was 21, and he was like, hey, I think you should get into real estate. I think you do good at it, yada, yada. Very quick conversation, and that seed kind of planted. I was like, that seems like a good idea. I was working at a restaurant at the time and doing some personal training, but really just focused on my boxing career. And, it's always been in the back of my mind, but I just decided to keep fighting and keep pursuing my boxing career. And then one day just kind of hit me. I was like, all right, I'm supposed to turn pro this year. It's the same year that I was supposed to turn pro. Got eye surgery, like laser surgery and everything to pursue that.
Okay, so you had glasses before?
I had contacts since I was like 12, but basically, I had very bad eye vision. And then, what am I saying here?
You were gonna go pro. You had the eye surgery.
So same deal. I kind of just thought to myself, do I want to like put all my eggs in boxing? Boxing is it's not like basketball where if you're pro, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're still working a regular job. You still have to work your way up. And I just thought to myself, do I really want to do that and then possibly make it? Like, in a sense, is a doubt, yeah, a little bit, but also just I wanted to get into real estate. Same thing, I didn't want to wait. So I basically just made that decision that, you know what, let's go ahead and just do this.
So you just stopped it,
decided to stop boxing. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't as sudden. Like, I didn't necessarily completely close the door on boxing. I had it in the back of my mind, like, I kind of want to fight. I still thought about fighting. I was like, maybe I can come back and fight, but I want to start this real estate thing for sure.
Yeah.
So I definitely took a break on boxing. I never did that the first 7 years. Like the 7 years, I was, like I said, just completely living the lifestyle of a boxer. And I feel like when you fight, you need to do that. Like, it's not a kind of sport where you can be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got to be running your miles. You got to be sparring. You got to be fighting consistently. You got to be eating right. You got to keep your weight down. I mean, I fought at 141, bro. I'm like 195 right now. I'm not in bad shape. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I kind of kept that door open, but I went all into real estate. That's what I wanted to do. And I was playing basketball, just messing around. This was actually during COVID. Tore my Achilles.
Oh,
so
dang.
that completely just kind of closed the door on everything. I was kind of, man, I'm kind of glad I'm not playing basketball or boxing right now because that definitely would have been a blower. And I wasn't too blown because I could still sell houses with a
So when you got into the business, you must have been pretty young though. So I got into the business the same at like 26. I'm in my 9th year.
Okay.
And maybe 25, 26. And I realized very early on, like, when you first get in real estate, the first thing you do is you reach out to, family, friends, mostly friends. I was like lucky enough to be popular. And so I could reach back and be like, hey, I just got my real estate license. Yeah. And I was getting all those objections like, hey, I don't have 800 credit. I don't have 20% down. Don't I have to do all of that? Like, don't I have to have all of those things to be able to buy a house? And I was like, no. And then I built my career on first-time home buyers, right? Like, that's like the foundation of my business. How did you enter the game? Like, what were you doing to get business when you first started?
Similar. And again, when I entered the business, I really had no idea what a real estate agent was like entailed. I really was just listening to Bigger Pockets, find out that real estate can help you build wealth, and that really intrigued me. I really liked how people were like changing their lives through that. Mm-hmm. So when I got into Keller Williams and did all the training, and they're talking about sales and door knocking and prospecting, and all that was new to me, but I really liked it. I almost liked it even more. I was like, oh, okay, I can really do this. I'm like really good with people. I could see myself really doing well. And I was kind of like you. I had a good network locally because I grew up around here, played basketball, so I traveled a lot and I knew a lot of people from different schools and things like that. So that was kind of mine too. I kind of look back at my marketing. A lot of it was geared towards buying and buying your first home. And same thing here. Like for the majority of my career, I would say the first 5 years, it was like 90% buyers, 10% sellers. I think this last year was the first year that it shifted to like 60% sellers, 40%, maybe 55, 45. But it's definitely shifted, and the marketing has changed as well. I still help buyers. I still love helping buyers because if you don't own a home, you need to own a home, right? But yeah, that's kind of how it started.
So okay, you said if you don't own a home, you need to own a home. Why do people actually need to own a home?
I just think it's such. I know a lot of people don't say it's an investment, right? And I understand that argument, but I really do believe it is. At the end of the day, it is an asset, right? It has value. It's a very easy way to build wealth long term without really thinking about it. We all need a place to live. There's no reason that your home that you're gonna live in anyways can't work for you. Make it work for you. You can still invest in stocks. You can still invest in businesses. You can still do everything else. Why not at least have a primary residence that you own and you can benefit from, right?
Yeah, I think that what Diego's talking about is, you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think that we need to put in the hand of every like high school junior. I think it's what you can probably comprehend. And then Robert Kiyosaki spends the book. It's a really great book. It's transformative. Sure. I think it's a mindset book more than it's a real estate book. But there's so many people that are like, your primary residence isn't an asset. It's a liability because you're not renting it out. Yeah. And I mean, you could take that position if you want to. but your so-called liability in this market here is going to increase 4 to 7% a year, and we've been seeing that. I mean, since COVID, we've been seeing even more of an increase, and you're going to pay it off eventually, and so you can use that to like sell, downsize, pull, equity from. There's so many things that you could do with your primary residence that actually makes it like an asset, right, and something that's good. And then also like, bro, like be able to paint your walls and not have to pay a security deposit. Be able to make the upgrades. So I feel the same way.
I feel like it's simple. I mean, your home is an asset. It's not a cash flowing asset because you're living in it, right? But at the end of the day, you got to pay something. So you can call it your liability where you own it. I'd much rather own my home than rent someone else's home. And I see a lot of people who, and I'm sure you do too, a lot of people who don't own homes, never bought a home. They reach out to me, hey, I want to buy some investment properties, some rental properties. I'm like, you're approaching it all wrong.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know that with investment properties, you're going to need 20, 25% down if you want to do it just the traditional way, right? And if you don't own your own home, like just start there. Is the easiest way to get your first rental is buy your home. And then once you're ready to upsize or move out or even rent another home, turn it into a rental. I have a lot of clients who bought their first home with 5% down, 3% down, and lived there for 2 to 3 years. And maybe they went out of state for a year and decided to rent somewhere else for a year. They were able to turn their primary home into an actual cash flowing asset.
So so for someone who's renting that wants to buy a home, who like it kind of clicks for them, they're like, hey, I want to buy a home. What is your process, right? How do you give them that information and then take them on the journey to homeownership?
Yeah. Well, if someone that's renting that's talking to me like, hey, I want to buy a home, it's really just kind of figuring out their situation, where they're at, obviously financially, figuring out the very basics of also what they're looking to do and where they're looking to go, and seeing if it's realistic, right? It's just kind of giving them that journey like, all right, this is where you are income-wise, this is where you are credit-wise, this is how much debt you have, right? And this is your employment status. If all checks out and they are, you could say, financially responsible with their personal expenses, it makes sense for them to buy a home, right? And if they don't have, you could say, unrealistic expectations of what they want, like, oh, I want a 5-bedroom for my first house, it's going to be a little difficult. And the fact that you're going to try to wait until you're ready for that, it's going to get more and more expensive, most likely, right? Obviously, no one has a crystal ball, but if you can't afford a 5-bedroom home now, chances are in 5 years without you owning a home, it's going to be more difficult for you to own that 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom home, right? So you're better off trying to find something like a 3-bed, 2.5 bath that accommodates what you need. Yeah. So therefore you can get what you want later on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. You think in that initial conversation, the realtor is more important or is the lender more important?
I think the realtor is more important. I might be biased, but I think it's more important for us because a lot of times they know us, especially like the referrals and people that are recommended to. We can kind of talk to them from an outside of the finance perspective, right? And just kind of hear their goals, their motivations, their desires, and why it's important to them. And then we will connect them with trusted lenders who can do more of the finance part. So they're both, you could say, equally important.
Yeah.
I still recommend to talk to the realtor first, just so we can at least see their vision, and then we can point them in the right direction as to which lender they should be speaking with to help make that a reality, right?
I think it's interesting, right? Because I did, like I said, I did a lot of home buying seminars, and I would tell my lenders, I would say, hey, by the way, today is about you. No one wants to hear about the home inspection contingency or the appraisal contingency. They haven't thought that through. So really what everyone wants to know is, how do I afford to buy a home? What are the down payment programs?
Yeah.
How do I get a loan? What does my credit score need to be? This is the important information. But I think, and so I ask a lot of my lender partners, I'm like, hey, look, we lean into our spheres, and we're always kind of selling ourselves as realtors and making sure we're getting leads and converting.
Yeah.
And lenders do realtor business, right? Like if I was a lender, I don't think I would necessarily sit down with a bunch of realtors. I would just go build my business in my sphere. But I guess that's what I learned how to do as a realtor, so that is logical to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one can do anything with me until they're pre-approved with you, for the most part. But I do think that from the client side, right, connecting with your realtor first is important because, you've been in the business 8 years, I've been in it 9. There are a bunch of people out here, realtor and lenders, that just aren't good, right?
Yeah,
and so it is positive that you can, kind of suggest a few lenders to your clients for them to really get like the service they need and the information that they need.
Yeah.
So when you were telling that story, you mentioned that you were helping someone's dad buy a house, and then they were so impressed with your service, basically, and the process and understanding how easy it was that they bought a house. I noticed that you guys do a lot of sphere business and get a good amount of referrals, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so and repeat business. And so why do you like? How is that? How has that happened? How have you been so successful with the people you've already helped and getting referrals from their network?
Yeah, I think it originally started 2 years into business. I tried pretty much everything and just kind of sat down. I was like, I need to figure out what's working and what's not working. Where's my business actually coming from? And I saw that like over 80% of the business was organic, referrals, social media. So just started to be intentional with that, right? Just started to be intentional with people that I know and providing really good service and realizing that if you provide really good service, you stay in touch, you will get referrals. And we just kind of noticed that business, right? So it works for us. It's enjoyable because a lot of the people that refer you are typically similar and like-minded to an extent, and they're people that you can usually vibe with, and yeah, it's been good.
And so, imagine in like 8 years in the business, are those listings that you have now, since you do have a sphere-based business?
Yeah.
Are they a lot of move-up buyers?
They're kind of all over the place for real. So sometimes the referrals will be like empty nesters as well.
Okay.
Like I have a listing appointment later today from the parents of a seller, and they're like in their 80s and they're trying to sell and buy a one-level home just because it's about that time. Sometimes they are move-up buyers. Sometimes they're moving out of state. Sometimes they're investors. So the referrals come from all over the place. It's just people who own property. If you own property and you want to sell one of them,
you got it.
We're your guys.
Like, we got you.
We're your guys. Man.
Is there a different approach that you take with your buyers versus your sellers?
How so? What do you mean?
Like, what's the difference in the process? So obviously for buyers, we're educating them, right?
Yeah.
But for sellers, we kind of have to educate them on the process too.
Yeah.
So what's the journey? What's the process you take with sellers?
Like, I got you. So I explained a little bit about the buyers. With the sellers, for me, it's giving them options, right? It's kind of protecting their equity and making them understand that they have options. Like, hey, we can sell your house completely as is without doing anything besides like decluttering, and this is the value you're gonna get. I could sell it off market to an investor, letting you know they're most likely gonna sell it for less, or we can, what I like to call is I give them a market preparation list where I specifically give them specific items that are going to help them yield a better return on investment. You can always add more to a home and raise the value, but it's not always going to put more in your pocket.
Yeah.
So when I talk to my sellers, I'm always focused on giving them specific items that are going to help them net more, right? Yeah. And then just letting them decide, and then giving them different financing options as well if they're not able to do all the renovations, right? And just, like I said, just kind of laying out those options. Like, all right, you can sell your house this way, A, B, or C. Which one do you want to do? And they all are different, and just kind of explaining that, right? Because selling it as is going to be a lot quicker. We can list it next week or tomorrow, technically, versus getting the house ready. Do you have 2-3 weeks of a month to get your house ready for the market, and then another 30 days, 35 days for it to go on the market, close, and go through the whole contract process, right? So that's really what it is. And a lot of it is listening too, especially on the buy side and sell side, but just understanding what's important to them. If it's time, if it's money, all of that, the experience.
So we know kitchen and bathrooms sell houses, right? That's like the highlight. What do you think, aside from the kitchens and bathrooms, what do you think is the top 2 or 3 things that help get a home sold?
Kitchen and bathrooms for sure. Paint. Almost always. I always have people like, we just painted the house. I go into the house. I'm like, when did y'all paint? Oh, we painted 3 years ago. I'm like, I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah.
We're probably going to have to paint it again. So paint is definitely one. I think floors as well. If the floors are a little beat up, or if they have like used carpet, if you want to keep the carpet, it's not too expensive to replace, and just put fresh new carpet and just give it that new home feel with brand new paint, brand new floors. That goes a big way. And I think one other item as well, where it doesn't cost too much, is just changing the fixtures in the house. If you have a bunch of like old 1980s, 90s fixtures, just changing a few of those out could really, bring the home to life. Especially if you're painting and doing all that, then you have like 1980 fixtures. It looks a little off.
Yeah.
So.
I agree with those 3 things.
Yeah.
Paint is so important, and I used to undervalue how important paint was.
Yeah.
And then I realized that people don't want to paint on the way in. So if you have red paint or yellow paint or whatever color you decided wanted to be, paint is expensive.
It is.
You know, and people don't.
Now, yeah.
Especially now, and people don't want to spend thousands of dollars on the move in to get it neutralized, right? And then if your paint is all scuffed up, the house is just not going to show well. Floors totally transform the look of the space, right? I'm on this kick where it's like, let's get the vinyl off the main floor and put engineer hardwood there and put luxury vinyl in the basement. And then I do feel you on the fixtures too. That's hard to gauge, I think, but like those, like if you have like gold brass doorknobs, like we need to get those up out of there.
Yeah.
I had a client one time who we were putting his house on the market, and I was like, hey, you need to paint. And I don't know if he hired some contractor, you know, that wasn't legit, whatever, but he painted. And he's like, hey, let's come check out the house. Like, I painted. I think it's ready to go on the market.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I looked at him, and I was like, bro, you got to paint again. I was like, you got to paint again. Like, they didn't do a good job.
Yeah, that's important, man.
And he looked at me crazy. Like, what? And I was like, look, you don't have to do it, but I'm telling you what you should do. And it was funny because he painted it. And he repainted it. We walked back in.
So was it just done bad, or was he need another coat or something?
I don't know. You know, I'm not a painter, right? So I don't. It was a bad job. I don't know if it just needed another coat. I don't know what it was.
Did he do it?
He didn't know it. He thought it was ready to go.
No, did he do it himself?
I'm not sure. I think his tenants at the time were contractors, and so I think they painted it really quick.
Yeah.
And so when we went back in the house, you know, after the second paint job, I walked in. I was like, his name was Steve. I was like, yeah, Steve, like, it feels good in here. Like, the paint made a complete change. Like, it feels different in here. It's a vibe now. He's like, bro, whatever you talking about, bro. Let's get my house on the market. So he didn't notice it.
Yeah.
He didn't really see the change. He's just like, hey, I painted it. You told me to do it again. I did it again.
Yeah.
You're all excited about this second paint job. I don't really feel the difference. and I had to spend this extra money, but we sold his house quickly.
Okay.
And he got multiple offers.
Yeah.
And I think that that's sometimes what like people don't realize. Like that's having a valuable real estate agent, right?
Yeah.
Like some people don't realize like the value of an agent is, you know, hey dude, this isn't it. I want you to actually make money on the market and not sit. So unfortunately, I have to deliver this bad news to you, right?
Yeah.
Or this news to you. It doesn't have to be bad. I've walked in houses and I'm like, hey, this is like baby boomer furniture.
Yeah.
I think you should stage. You know what I mean?
It's our responsibility to be honest with our clients for sure, especially the sellers. I mean, and buyers too, obviously. But when you're selling a home, you got to tell them. Like, 'cause people have that emotional attachment. It's just, hey, I'm not here to cater to that in a sense. Like, to an extent, you got to be sensible, but you got to tell them.
You can't go in there and be disrespectful, but you do have to be like somewhat brutally honest.
Yeah, I've been in there with some stages before that were like kind of disrespectful to my clients.
Oh, really?
I don't work with them no more, but they were like, you got to paint, you got to do this. Like, do you guys even clean around here? I'm like, man.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was like, oh, man.
To say, do you even clean around here?
She's like, do you guys like to clean? Like, she was trying to be like
funny
humorous
about
and
it,
shit, but it wasn't happening.
It didn't work. So you grew up in Loudoun County, basically like middle school, high school?
Yeah.
And so I always tell people, I'm like, Loudoun County was the country, bro. Like, you know, it wasn't like the super country, but that was like out there. You know, we didn't go to Loudoun County. Even like if you go 95, you know, Stafford, Fredericksburg, like this is the country. And but Loudoun County is not the country. I think it's top 2 richest counties in the country.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of development, great schools, etc. So from someone who grew up there and can really understand the nuances of the market out there, like, why do you think it developed so quickly, and what makes it so attractive to people?
Well, the reason it's attractive to me, and I feel it's attractive to a lot of people, is what everyone kind of knows. It's relatively safe, good schools, good education system, but there's also a lot to do. So it's not too fast-paced like the city-ish, like Arlington, Alexandria, and I personally never really wanted that. So it's a good place to raise a family, but there's also a ton of stuff to do. And if you wanted to go to like more naturistic things, you can do that. It's a short drive away. So pretty much everything's a short drive away. There's anything you want is 5 minutes away, and it's all just it's all convenient. That's why I like it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Everything's clean. You know what I mean? Everything's clean. It's like I said, it's a good place to raise a family. Yeah,
that makes sense. Do you own your home?
Yeah.
How many? Do you have any investment properties?
I own 3 properties, but they're both occupied by family. But one of them will be turned into your traditional rental property this year.
And when did you start buying houses?
2018. Bought my first home in Stafford, and then I bought my current home in Leesburg in 2021, and then bought again in 2022 in Purcellville. So I own 2 homes in Loudoun and 1 home in Stafford.
What's the Purcellville situation? Like, why are you all the way out in Purcellville?
So my brother and I bought it as like a future investment. So we both own that property together. He occupies that property now, with intentions of us making that a rental property later on. So it's already gained $100,000 in equity. Just that's why you got to buy and wait. And that's kind of when the interest rates started to rise, right? So we got like a 4.6, if my memory serves me correct. And at the time, 2021 is like a year away. You're like, dang, I missed out on the two in the front.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, kind of glad you bought then. You know what I mean?
And not 7%. So what do you think about someone who's like on the sidelines, waiting for rates to drop?
Yeah. I don't think it's a smart tactic because most people who are waiting for rates to drop don't really have a rate in mind where they want it to drop, right? Unless they do, then it's not a terrible idea. Like, I'm going to wait for it to hit like 6.5, just kind of go down a little bit and then make that move. But you need to be prepared if you are going to have that strategy. I think anyone in general who's buying in today's environment just needs to be fully aware of where they stand in today's interest rates, what's their purchasing power, or what kind of home they can afford, and then be ready to act on it once that type of home appears on the market, and have a game plan in mind.
And then in general, what do you think like the home buyers and home sellers in today's market need to know?
Home buyers is kind of what I just said. They need to understand their purchasing power and where they stand now. Understand how 5% in appreciation of prices can affect them if they wait a year. Understand where interest rates are going. They're not expected to drop below 6% this year, and understanding that. So it's like, really, what are you waiting for? So as a home buyer, you need to understand, if you don't own a home, what are your plans? And if you do own a home and you're thinking about upsizing or downsizing, same thing. You need to understand your purchasing power, how much equity you have in your current home. So you're fully educated on what your options are. And sellers, if you're a home seller, you need to understand that we still have low inventory. And even though we're seeing more homes come on the market, if you work with an agent who can help you prep your home and help it stand out, you're still going to get multiple offers. So you can still sell for a neighborhood high. And you can use that equity and transfer that equity to another property, maybe in a better location, in a better school district. So if you're a home seller, you have a lot of options. I still feel, if we're talking from like a macro perspective, it's still a seller's market for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. We'll get you out of here on that question.
Yeah.
How can the people find you?
You can find me on my Instagram. It's my full name, Diego Abregu. Last name, Abregu.
Okay, cool. And Diego's in the car. He's got the benzo, He's in the car dropping gems every day.
Yeah, sure.
In the summertime, he's dropping gems.
Yeah.
Or he's got the coat on, he's got the seatbelt on, driving safe, letting you know about the market. So I enjoy watching your Instagram. There's a lot of information there.
Appreciate it.
So go follow my guy. And thanks for joining me, bro.
For sure, man.